Yeah. What the?
Alright. Oh, he dropped me a natty brick too. That guy's the f***ing goat.
Left side. Seconds. Mark. Mark you. New guy.
What? Here we go.
Happen. Oh, damage, dude. I like the DNA. In slot.
Keep on. Keep crashing. Oh! Come on! No, 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 no! Yes! Oh! Hold on. 8.3 mil! Sheesh! Have you guys ever watched Friday the 13th movies? You know how every time, without fail, Jason always keeps coming back? Yeah, that's what Thunderlord is in Destiny 2. So Archtitans are back with a vengeance in episode Heresy, completely revitalized from the dead with 2 recent changes Bungie implemented with Heresy launch. The first was exclusively giving Archtitans a new aspect called Storm's Keep, and we'll get to that in a second. The other huge change was introducing a crazy new ability called Bolt Charge. Bolt Charge allows you to accumulate stacks of it up to a max of 10. Once maxed, you can unleash it onto an enemy to do a lightning strike, which then does a chunk of damage to the target. Very similar to Ignitions for Solar, however, Bolt Charge seems to be a notch better because unlike Ignitions, there is no lockout or internal cooldown to how many lightning strikes you can smack a boss with at once, whereas Ignitions, if a boss is ignited, you can't immediately ignite them again, otherwise conditional finality would be causing World War III right now. Anyway, back to Bolt Charge. While you have any stacks of Bolt Charge, sustained weapon damage will generate extra stacks of Bolt Charge until you hit max. Lastly, any ability damage generates a lightning bolt at the target's location. Now onto Storm's Keep. This thing is so good that it's single-handedly making people actually get off Prismatic Consecration Titan, which is no easy task. Storm's Keep is an aspect that allows you and your allies to gain a moderate amount of Bolt Charge every time you activate your class ability, in this case, Rally Barricade. When you're behind the barricade, you and your allies gain stacks of Bolt Charge over time, and your weapons activate Bolt Charge when reaching maximum stacks. Now we bring in the martyr of the build, good old Thunderlord, that will surely make a certain crowd foam at the mouth for ever even mentioning it. Thunderlord is Bolt Charge the gun. Its entire life purpose is to create lightning strikes, literally. And guess what happens when it does chain lightning strikes? That's right, every lightning strike gains you a stack of Bolt Charge. Now real quick before we move on, I do want to mention what you're seeing in the footage. In these clips, you'll see me take on bosses in 2 different variants. One version will be the no loadout swap version for the people that don't want to loadout swap in damage phases, and the other will be a loadout swap version where you can take advantage of both of our exotic armor pieces that we're talking about today. The first is going to be Heart of Inmost Light, the chest piece, not the exotic class item that's been spammed to death for the last 8 months. Heart of Inmost Light allows us to cycle through our abilities faster to allow us to get back to our barricade quickly, and getting back to our barricade quickly makes it so that we can spam Bolt Charge that much faster. It also makes it so we basically never run out of a barricade. One will always be up for both the purposes of Bolt Charge and for some protection. Our second exotic, the Hot Swap Special, is going to be Curse of the Falling Star, which will allow us to hit Thunder Crash on a boss for some massive damage. Also, depending on the boss fight, you can just keep Curse on from the get-go to try to squeeze out multiple Falling Star Thunder Crashes on a boss for some good damage. As an example, the Puppeteer clip you saw in the intro, that was me doing 3 Thunder Crashes in one phase with Curse of the Falling Star. How did I get 3 supers? Well, the answer to that is Thunderlord. Thanks to how super regen works now in PvE, the more sustained damage you have on targets, the faster your super builds. And since Thunderlord's identity is to just unleash a billion bullets on a target, it massively increases how fast I get my super back. There's also a certain mod used to help with this, but I'll get to that later in the mod section. Meanwhile, here's the kit. There's only 2 things that are really mandatory here. The rest are changeable if you'd like, personal preference and all that. Those 2 things are, number 1, Storm's Keep, which I just mentioned why this is insane. And the other thing is going to be Spark of Frequency, the bottom portion specifically. While you're amplified, you gain increased stacks of Bolt Charge from all sources. So that's really helpful during damage. For the rest of the kit, we have Rally Barricade, pretty standard and obvious. For our melee, we have Thunderclap. In the event that I have an enemy near me during damage phase, I can quickly just Thunderclap and kill it in one shot instantly, as it does pretty good damage. Also, it helps towards Heart of Inmost Light, if you're rocking that. Then we have Storm Grenade and our grenade, also pretty standard, does good damage. That's pretty much it. in the aspects, the other one besides Storm's Cape is going to be Knockout. I don't think I need to explain why Knockout is good. It's been good for a billion years now, but it also allows us to get amplified when we defeat enemies with melees. So that's also really helpful to Spark of Frequency. And speaking of the fragments, we have 4 of them. We already covered Spark of Frequency, so I'll move on from that. The other 3 are Spark of Bolts. A finisher will make you amplified and grant you a stack of Bolt Charge. Spark of Shock allows you to jolt with your arc grenades. So when you toss your storm grenade, that's an extra jolt. And lastly, Spark of Focus. After sprinting for a short time, your class ability regeneration is increased, so just helping you get back your barricade even faster. Real quick, I'll cover the other 2 weapons that I had besides Thunderlord. So the first one is going to be a fusion rifle called Scatter Signal in my kinetic slot. This is mainly here because I can utilize both Slice on the weapon and utilize Particle Reconstruction in the artifact to do some nice damage to yellow bars like Subjugators, Atrax clones, etc. My energy weapon was Path of Least Resistance, an Arc Trace Rifle, specifically because it has Shoot to Loot. So in the event that I'm doing a long damage phase and I actually happen to run out of ammo, if there is a brick anywhere near in the area, I can quickly use Shoot to Loot on this weapon to pick it right up and continue my damage phase without actually having to move anywhere. Now with the basics out of the way, let's go through the gameplay loop real quick. So there's a couple of different alternative ways you can do this. The first is the bare minimum setup. You have Part of the Ammo Slide equipped, you throw your nade, activate your barricade, and then go to town with Thunderlord and occasionally reapply your barricade to keep that bolt charge chain going. The alternate version to this is going to start off with a barricade, and then you throw your nade and launch yourself into the boss with Thunder Crash. This typically results in you getting about half your barricade back by the time you get back in position, and can potentially give you a second super if the damage phase is long enough. The next version is the Swaps variant. This starts off with Curse of the Falling Star as your exotic. Once again, pop your barricade, throw your nade, and Thunder Crash the boss for a chunk of damage, then immediately swap to Inmost Light to get your ability regen going for the extra barricades. Alternatively, you can also simply keep Curse on the entire time. That way, if the damage phase is long enough, you'll get back a second super, or a third one in the case of Puppeteer, and do some more chunky damage with both your supers. But essentially, in all cases, you are just abusing your barricade and abilities as much as you can to get as many Bolt Charge Lightning Strikes as you can. Now for the mods, there's a couple you should have in the artifact definitely equipped for this build. They are the following. Flashover, when you gain maximum Bolt Charge, you also become amplified. Lightning Bolts also deal more damage. Next is Particle Reconstruction. That's mainly for the fusion rifle that you're running with this build. I guess if you don't want to run the fusion, you could take this off, technically speaking. And then Heavy Ordnance Regeneration, dealing sustained damage to targets with a machine gun or rocket, in this case a machine gun, will increase grenade and melee regeneration for a short duration. If you do want to take Particle off, you could put on Defibrillating Blast instead. Stunning a champion grants you maximum stacks of Bolt Charge and triggers an Arc Bolt that heals you and jolts commands that it damages. Now for the actual armor mods, let's start with the helmet. First we have one copy of Radiant Light. This is to give our teammates armor charge when we're activating our super. Speaking of our super, Font of Wisdom is next. This is the mod I was talking about earlier. Essentially, when you have an armor charge, this is active and it gives you a plus 30 bonus to your intellect stat, which means your super comes back faster. And then, obviously, you're spamming Thunderlord, which makes it just go insanely quickly. So that's a really good combo here to have. Then the last mod here is Powerful Friends. Now, if you can fit in Heavy Ammo Finder, I would just put that in the slot instead. Essentially, I was just doing testing, and I wanted to ensure that my teammates always had an armor charge during damage phases, so I put on Powerful Friends when I collected orbs to give them more armor charges. In gloves, we have one copy of Harmonic Loader. I think that's pretty straightforward. And then 2 copies of Bolster and Detonation, which grants us class ability energy when we cause damage with a grenade, which we'll be throwing all the time. In our chest piece, I, as usual, have 2 resist mods, one in Arc flavor, one in Solar flavor, and then 1 copy of Arc Reserves just to give us more ammo into Thunderlord. Then in our boots, pretty standard, we have 3 copies of Arc Weapon Surge, no explanation needed for that. Lastly, the class item. We have 1 copy of Bomber to reduce grenade cooldown when using our class ability, so we can throw our grenade and feed our class ability more plus jolt the target. And then 2 copies of Time Dilation just to extend our armor charges in the event that we're doing a really long damage phase and we don't want our surges to run out. And that is the build. I will leave a dim link down below in the description as always if you want to try it out. But in conclusion, I just wanted to say, while this build is very fun, it is not supposed to be like top end 0.1% of the meta. It's not going to be the greatest DPS setups in the game. For example, a lot of people are saying this is better than Sanguine Warlocks. In my opinion, that's just simply not true. Sanguine Warlocks are dominating literally everything in the game, and it's not even close. But I will say this does very good damage for very, very minimal effort. All you gotta do is put up your barricade and press M1 or whatever the shoot button is on your controller, and you will do great damage. Not the very, very best damage, but still great damage for almost no effort. And I'll leave it at that. Lastly, I do want to mention I have other Arc Titan builds in mind. Something with hazardous propulsion, perhaps, in the future coming up soon. So if you're interested in that setup, stay tuned for that. Other than that, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or a comment below as well. If you don't know what to leave as a comment, you could leave Thunderlord as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.